Hi, welcome back to Come and See. I'm the Reverend Dr. Terry Gallagher, and as you can see, we're back in my kitchen. So you're probably suspecting that in this episode, we're going to talk about food again, and you'd be right. If you remember in our previous episode on food, we had talked about how much damage our meat-based diet does to the planet in terms of the water it consumes, the earth it consumes, the pollution that goes up in the air. And we talked about reducing the amount of meat, particularly the amount of red meat that we eat, in order to save the planet for the future. Well, we're not done talking about food, because feeding 7.5 billion people is a huge load on the planet. And so we need to talk about a really big issue. It doesn't sound like a big issue when you first think about it, but you dig into it, it's a big issue. What is it? It's food waste. It's the amount of food that is thrown out rather than consumed. Our technical resource, Project Drawdown, rates this as the number 3 possible solution to our pollution. Number 3. That's because 70 gigatons of pollution could be saved if we reduce the amount of food we waste. Why? Well, because fully 1/3 of the food that is grown is never consumed. It's wasted. Now, in the developing countries, a lot of that is due to they don't have the systems. They don't have the distribution systems. They don't have the storage systems. They don't have the coordination systems. They don't have the refrigeration systems. And so food rots. It rots on the field when the orders don't get placed in time. It rots in the trucks because they're not protected from the environment. It rots in the storage. 1/3 of our food is wasted at a time when over 1 billion of our people are hungry. That's a sin. But it's not just the third world. It's not just the developing world that has this 1/3 problem. We have the same problem. How do we have that problem? Well, it comes from a couple of things. Number one, we demand to have perfect food. We really do. And so we bypass food that doesn't look perfect. It looks a little less than perfect. And that was a result, that stuff is thrown out by the grocer, or it won't be selected by the distributor. What's the other thing? Well, in that big refrigerators that we all have, we get lost. We lose food that we bought until we smell it. We don't plan our menus well. We think we're going to use stuff that we don't wind up doing, and we wind up throwing it away. It's a shame. Also, there's a lack of coordination sometimes between the people who really need the food and the distributors that are holding on to the food. And so if the grocers would all line up to work with the people who distribute the food to food pantries and soup kitchens on a very streamlined basis, then we could reduce significantly the amount of food that's wasted. Right? A couple of countries have advanced this to the point where it's the law. A grocer is not allowed to throw out the old food. He must find a way to get it to people who need it. So that's true in France, that's true in Netherlands. It's a significant issue. 1/3 of our food is wasted. So the soil is wasted. The water is wasted. The pollution is wasted. We can do better. In the book of Leviticus, in the Old Testament, all the way back in the 25th chapter, it spends a lot of time explaining the Sabbath laws. Now, modern American Protestants, especially us, we look upon the Sabbath law as applying to when do we go to church. It's much more than that. It described a way of life, a way of living in balance with God's good creation. It described how you harvest your fields and what portion of it you set off for the poor to eat. That's called gleaning. When you should rest your foods and how you should rotate your crops. How we should all spend time in the presence of God at rest. We can be wiser on what we do. We can save 70 gigatons in pollution by reducing the amount of food waste. And it doesn't cost money. It saves money. Can we do this? Can we be a little bit smarter? We don't even need to wait for the smart refrigerators that are going to tell you, hey, your eggs are getting old. If we think about it, if we take active planning into what we're going to use, what we're going to consume, if we encourage our grocers to use their food that no one is buying to send to food pantries and to soup kitchens, if we encourage our regulations to come to a standard, what's it mean to use by date? Because there's no standard right now. So that we know whether the food is going to be still good or whether we need to trash it. If we're loving our neighbors so that we help the developing world with distribution systems, with refrigeration systems, with yield systems, with packaging systems, we could significantly reduce what is simply a waste right now. We could eliminate sin from our food systems. We can do this. We can save the earth for the future of our kids simply by being smarter on how we do our daily lives today. See you next time on Come and See, when we once again explore the intersection of technology and faith. What hope comes when we use our faith to guide our use of technology. Take care.
And faith is not in knowing, it's a willingness to learn. And faith is found in loving when there's nothing in return. So come and see, around the bend, look my friend, and what could be? Come with me, come with me. There's so much more to know, so come and see. There's so much more to know, so come and see.